I'm David.
And I'm Justine.
We're two athletes living with MS
And this podcast is about the real stories of coming back to sport.
or starting fresh after illness, injury, or a diagnosis with long term challenges.
It's about learning how to return on your own terms. This is Adaptive LiMitS.
What's up,
Nothing.
bro?
What's up with you?
Nothing much. It's not raining here in Portland. And so today I went on a super awesome 45-mile bike ride, and it was just wonderful. Something about Portland when you go through a week of rain and then you
Yeah.
get a Saturday with no rain.
Yeah.
Everyone's out on their bikes, everyone's
Yeah.
jogging, and it's like
I
a
had run club
magical
this morning
place.
on the water and everybody was out. So many people were out running and cycling and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, wait, how was your race?
Yeah, maybe we can start this with a race recap. It was
I
good.
love it.
In case you did not listen to the previous podcast, this race that I did was the Silver Falls Half Marathon that's put on by the Bivouac Racing Organization, and it's 13 miles. Yeah, it was this wet, rocky, gritty course, and the whole time, so you're on this trail of 10 falls. So you're running by waterfalls. So all around you are like flecks of pieces of water just are floating through the air all around you at times. And it's like running in an atmospheric
It's
river.
cool.
Yeah, it's really fun, but it's really wet too. So yeah, there were some fast girls out there and that made me push harder. It was good. Like, David, I love races. So they're so fantastic. I know. I just love them so much because you are in that situation to challenge yourself and to really just push yourself hard and see what your body can do and test yourself. And I just have so much fun when I'm racing. Linda of Dirty Free Hub, she commented on a picture of me from running in the race.
Picture
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
waterfall in the background, right? That was
Yes, it
awesome.
was
I
that
love
picture.
that
And she
picture.
said, whenever I see a picture of you in the outdoors, I laugh and then I smile. And I was like, I know, I
Oh,
love it.
Linda, I love it.
That's the kind of reaction I want to evoke. I hope that I make everyone laugh and feel silly and smile. But I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I have
I
fun when I
love it.
race. Yeah. So yeah, I ran strong and hard. And afterward, I had all the skin on my hands and my knees. It was all intact. No trips, falls, scrapes, bruises, nothing. It was crazy to be like, I don't have to go buy band-aids and like do a band-aid party. Yeah.
So, Justine, fun fact. The first time you ever met my wife, Karen, and my kids was last summer. And we started the Bike MS team,
Yeah.
Spinal Tap PDX, and it was packet pickup at like the Trek store. And we all met, and we got a bunch of people from the team, and we all met at some food cart pod. And I don't know if you remember, your leg was totally bleeding. So when you
Oh my
say you
God.
finished your race and your skin was completely intact, no truer words have
Yeah.
ever been spoken, because you were like, "Oh yeah, my leg's bleeding."
I
Like
was
I
just like
I must
casual
have
about it.
fallen.
Oh my God.
You totally
That's
were.
so
You totally
funny.
were.
Now I remember it, but I did not remember that at all. That's okay. Sure. My legs, I've been through worse.
Yeah. So no, no
Yeah.
blood on the race, which is good. And you know what? I'm thinking we talk about Bike MS, we've talked about Teams Spinal Tap PDX, but we never really gone into Bike MS. I know that, just to give everybody some context around it, I started riding in Bike MS. This will be my third year when I do it later this year. And the first year I did it solo, and I did a century ride on the bike I got from Meat Fight. And then last year I started on a whim my own Bike MS team, and it quickly became our Bike MS team. And when I say our, I mean the whole
Yeah.
team, because there was 9 of us. And we came up with this witty name of Spinal Tap PDX, which was an ode to the procedure, a spinal tap. Most people with MS have gone through a spinal tap, or a lot of people have. And we even had jerseys made up. And my friend, who's a graphic artist, Jeff, designed a logo with an MRI machine that said, "This one goes to 11," which is a
Right.
line from the movie. And so we did it in McMinnville. And then we also sold sponsorship. So we sold logo space on the jersey
Yeah.
for fundraising donations. And so there were coffee shops, there were,
Sauna glow.
just different businesses in the Portland metro. And Bike MS is really just, it's been a game changer for me. When I say it's how I fell in love with the bike. Up until that point, I had started getting healthier. I started eating better and exercising more, but I was looking for something more than just the walks. And I got turned to Bike MS by the chapter president, and I've just fallen in love ever since. And so yeah, last year was awesome. We're a team of 9 strong, and we have our third member has joined this year. So
Yeah.
we're now a team of 3. And so if anyone wants to join Spinal Tap
Yeah.
PDX, right?
Link
Come
in
and join
bio.
us.
Yes.
How was it for you?
Well, so last number, but I did not do 100 and what 46, where you did the 100 one day and then the Sunday you did the
Yeah.
46. But I got injured, and so I
Yeah.
wasn't able. I almost wasn't able to do
That's
anything, and
right.
then I worked out with me and my coach just to go and do just one short ride, and so I did like the
Didn't you talk him into it? He
yeah,
was like ready
yeah,
to be,
'cause hurt my
no, no
shoulder,
bike.
and I fell downstairs, and I landed on my shoulder, and this was completely unrelated to my brain accident, was just me rushing and not taking my time and not taking responsibility for what I was doing, and I was just carrying 8,000,000 things up the stairs at one time to get out the door, and bad things happen, you know? So, yeah, so this year is
Yeah.
redemption for me. I can't wait.
I love it. Well, we're gonna get you to the finish line, and you are gonna do more than the 13 this year. I'm super
Cool.
stoked for that.
Yeah, so the race I did, I ran strong and hard and I had so much fun. Like I said, it was really challenging and I loved it. And what helped me to stay upright for the entirety of that race was this new attitude that I have been taking with me into runs. And so I took it with me into this race. And it's the idea that reminding myself, Justine, you're responsible for your steps. So, you get to take responsibility here. And it's the thought that I have replaying in my head as I'm running down this rocky, slippery trail, just being Justine, there's a lot that isn't in your control, but right now in your control is paying attention to the trail and being engaged with it and being focused on where your feet are going and how high you're lifting your feet off your ground. Even though it's with drop foot, I have to think about the drop foot so that it goes so it's not dropping. I'm responsible for that at this
Yeah.
point. And, I didn't choose MS
Mhm.
or drop foot or having a TBI, and even the trail conditions are not in my control exactly. But this attitude is not to blame myself. It's really empowering to say there are things in this situation that I do have control over. And I chose to be here. I
Yeah.
chose to do this. I get to do this. And I have the skills and
Mhm.
determination and I can take ownership over this situation. Um, and that line of thinking is like I paid attention, I stayed engaged, and the thoughts gave me a sense of control and I felt more stable, more steady, and I was able to move faster. And I finished strong. It felt really good.
I love that mentality. It's so refreshing to hear, because I think with any chronic illness, with any
Yeah.
injury, there's
Yeah.
things you can't control. And it's really easy to just have slipped and fallen and said, well, I slipped and fell because I have MS, or, because I'm dealing with a traumatic brain injury or the recovery of one. Or it could be, I need to focus more, or I need to focus on
Yeah.
my so I love that. Taking It's not blaming yourself,
Right.
it's just taking accountability
Yeah, it's
for
like
what you
it's
can
very
control.
empowering to take control over what you can control. And yeah, so the race this year was a loop course where we did 2 loops of the same trail. And so running it the first time I realized that the last mile to the finish was going to be like mostly net like downhill, and I love bombing downhill. Like it's my favorite. It's like
Do you really?
yeah.
Is that like a running
Uh
term, like bombing? That just means like you're
Yeah,
just
I
flying
think
downhill?
so. I don't know. Like, I say bombing downhill. I mean, I guess if I was biking, I would probably say it too, or skiing. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh my
love it.
god.
I'm gonna start using it.
It's really
Yeah.
fun. There were 3 women that I had been trading places with towards the end of the race, and they were going ahead of me, and then I was going ahead of them, and I was like, I was kind of going their pace, they were kinda going mine, but so I actually let them get a little bit ahead of me so I could kinda catch my breath, so I could
Mhm,
still see them off in the distance,
mhm.
but I never let them out of sight, but I just eased off so I could breathe and so that it didn't feel like they were chasing me, and so I also just knew that when that last mile came and that downhill came, I was gonna go for it. I knew that that last mile was mine, yeah.
Ah, that's awesome.
So and it was awesome. That's what I did, and I moved up 3 places from 14th to finishing 11th, and yeah, it was good.
Awesome.
A good finish, and it was just fun. It's fun when you're really in it and you kinda can have those moments of, like, strategizing. I'm gonna ease off right now because I'm gonna hit it, like, on the downhill, and, that kind of strategizing thought process is really fun.
Yeah, I love it. The strategy of racing, and when do you conserve your energy, and then when do you go all
Yeah.
in, and
Right,
keeping folks within arm's reach.
right.
It's fascinating.
Yeah,
It's great.
and interestingly, I ended up with the same rank percentage as last year's race. So I was 80% of the top female finishers time. So that just means that like tougher females showed up. So good for them and good for me. Yeah.
And awesome for you.
Yeah.
That
I
Good for
know.
you. Well, congrats. That's so
Yeah.
so awesome. I love it. Congrats on
Oh,
even
totally.
14th would have been awesome, but the fact that you totally pushed it
Yeah.
and got to 11th,
Yeah.
that's so awesome.
And I think everyone had a good time. It was really great. But so while I was running, had this the kind of when it started feeling hard, like, it was kind of when I let them get ahead of me a little bit and I was getting taking a breath. When that was getting hard feeling and I was just trying to gather some energy for sustaining myself, the thought came into my head of how I've had MS for 10 years now. And I was like, I've had MS for 10 years and
Wow.
I had that accident and I'm not broken. I'm still here. I'm running and life was so much harder than this is right now running and I can do this. And so that thought really got me it pushed me to go farther, to move a little bit faster. So I finished and I went home and the next day I got a tattoo in remembrance of my 10-year diagnosis anniversary. I don't know if we should call it an anniversary.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right. I've heard MS birthday, I've heard MS anniversary, and so yeah,
Yeah.
we've heard it all. So, but you know what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Celebrate it,
And
man,
it was the tattoo I ended up getting was to celebrate like that I'm still here and I'm still living a like my very full colorful life. And yeah,
Yeah.
I ended up going to the tattoo place Zigzag.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was a few months ago, you were, I think, toying with the idea of getting another piece
Yeah.
done, and I had recommended Zigzag. Before my diagnosis, I had a few tattoos, and I went to Lucky. He was at a place off the Mississippi here in Portland, and he was there and with his partner at the time, who's now his wife. And then they left that shop and opened up this
Yeah.
shop in the Hollywood district of Portland. And I just absolutely love their shop. Both Lucky and his wife, Melissa, just do phenomenal work. And more than anything, it's just a
Yeah.
super welcoming environment. You go to some tattoo
Yeah.
shops and it's like a bro fest. Although ironically we're bros, but it's a different kind of bro at these tattoo shops. But one of the things, it's a line that stuck with me. And if anyone has heard, I've spoken a lot at whether it's panels, I've spoken at Bike MS and Walk MS events, and I always reference this line of leaning in and lean in. And it actually came from Lucky at Zigzag Tattoo because, like I said, I only had a few tattoos before my diagnosis. And since then, I have one complete sleeve and then I have almost a half sleeve on this arm. And I found it to be therapeutic. It's almost me taking
Mhm.
control back of my body and, with art. And we were going through this section of my arm that was painful. And I'm like clinching up. And Lucky turns to me, he's like, just lean in, man. And I was like, what do you mean? And he started telling me how our initial gut reaction as humans when there's anything painful or difficult is to clinch up and lean out. And he told me just open up and lean in. Don't pull away from the needle, just kind of come to it. And he told me it's not going to hurt any less. It's still going to hurt, but it's going to allow you
Yeah.
to deal with it in a different way. And I had the light bulb went off and I was like,
Yeah.
this is the analogy for how I want to live my life with
Yeah.
MS is to lean in. And so I find it to be very fitting
Yeah.
is to lean in because when you lean out of diagnosis or an
Yeah. Or
injury
a raise.
or a chronic condition, no, or a race, no good can come out of that. Just lean in. And whether that is,
Yeah.
if you leaned in and you DNF, that's fine, right? If you leaned in and you had come in 16th, that's fine too.
Yeah.
But you leaned in and you came in 11th, which is great. I love that. But
As you were
that's my
talking, I
line.
like it made me think about the of bombing downhill is that's kind of how it's like just lean into it, fall forward. Just if you're leaning out and
Yep.
that's when it's gonna be you're running on your heels and your knees are gonna hurt and you're gonna be slipping in a weird way. And so it's just lean in and let momentum take you and fall forward.
So
Oh
tell me
yeah.
about this piece.
Okay.
Where
So
is it?
I
Okay.
love that you have so many tattoos because I also have so many tattoos and we're bros. It makes sense. It's just another my bro. Yeah, we have tats. So
Yeah,
this one I got
absolutely.
on my leg and I wanted to get it on my right leg because that is the leg that I have drop foot and I have some responsiveness stuff with that foot. Yeah, so got on my right leg for that reason because it's a line from a Mary Oliver poem. And it's probably listeners have probably heard this line because it's very well known. So tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Yeah,
Oh, I
and
love
so
it.
I had her put little wildflowers wrapping around the side of that phrase. And it's pretty simple, but there's a lot of meaning to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to imagine for you, you could have lost your
Yeah.
life in that accident. And even a diagnosis like MS, although MS typically is not deadly, your life can change dramatically in the blink of an eye. And so that one
Yeah, you
life
can
can look
lose the
really
life you
different.
knew.
And so it just gives you this perspective. I
Yeah.
that is a very beautiful quote. And I think it's an
Yeah.
awesome tattoo to
Yeah,
get. That's
thank you.
awesome.
And that is exactly it. Living with the chronic illness and then surviving that accident and also surviving it and not being in a vegetative state and getting now I live on my own and I'm back at work and I can drive a car to get my life back in such a oh gosh, I'm gonna cry. To get my life back.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
lean in.
like lean in.
We didn't know if I would walk. We didn't know if I would remember my name. We didn't know so many things. I relearned how to be a human, and the coming back to what I am now is really just an amazing thing. And one thing it's just made very clear to me is life is precious and we get one. And I almost lost it. And because of that, I just want to keep like this one life being wild in the way I already was doing, like riding my bike across deserts and running in the mountains. And that I want to keep letting my life be wild. That stuff is exhilarating, and adventure is one of the best parts of this life.
I saw a picture of it and it was beautiful. And I know if it was done at Zigzag, it's a absolutely beautiful piece. Good for you
Yeah.
celebrating your tenure with not only a race but a remarkable piece as well.
Yeah.
Definitely some heavy stuff.
Yes. Pivot to talking about
Yeah. Do we want to go a little?
yes,
Do we want to go
something
a little
very much
lighter?
less serious, peeing your pants. Because that is something that happens with when you have a chronic condition of different sorts. Not all of them, but some of them. So yeah. um,
Yeah. Peeing your pants. It's common in endurance sports, even for people without conditions
totally.
like MS, right? Like, because you're drinking so much water, you're eating so much fuel. I think I told you earlier today, there's like a triathlete named Taylor Nibb, and there's a video of her that went viral. I don't know if it was in the Olympics or what, but she's running and the camera's coming up and zooming in, and she looks at the camera. She's like, "I just shit my pants, so
Oh my
make sure
god.
you don't film me from behind." And was nonchalant about it because what's she supposed to do? Just stop and like
Yeah.
go to the bathroom?
There are outhouses and stuff at certain places, but it's like you have to wait and then you have to go, and it eats up so much time that like, for an athlete like that, she doesn't want to waste. And yeah, so I didn't shit my pants, but I did pee my pants a little bit during this race. And this is I can't believe I'm talking about this right now, but you know what? We're pulling back the veil and yes.
Lean in.
Um so during the race I didn't really have to go, but every time I took hard stride where like came down like down off like a step in a like kind of a hard way, I like felt a little bit of pee come out. And like so it was basically just I didn't have bladder control at that point for whatever reason. Like my MS bladder control issue was, hey, I'm here. Good job. So I was, well, this is happening. Okay. I'm gonna keep going and just keep going.
And I think I even last week, I think when I talked about what happened to me in
Yeah.
the
Yes.
Azores, and it started with an episode of constipation and then a UTI, which are
Yeah.
again MS symptoms. We're not first graders where when we talk about peeing, we start giggling. Did they,
Yeah.
the excuse the pun, this shit happens. And it happens more
Yeah.
when you have a chronic condition. And then you tack
Yeah.
on, you're doing endurance sports where you
And
are drinking
caffeine.
liters of water and hundreds of grams of
Yeah.
carbs. This stuff happens. So I think it's time we normalize
Yeah.
this kind of stuff,
I
Justine.
agree.
Yeah. But you
Yeah.
wanted to keep going
Yes.
when
So
this
I
happened, right?
did not DNF.
You didn't DNF?
So, yes, I just kept going and so if you're an endurance athlete with a chronic condition, like you said, pairing those things together, it's going to just raise the likelihood maybe you have some bladder issues. But even if you are perfectly fine, you don't have a chronic condition, maybe you have every now and then you've had too much caffeine and you just have to go. So, but especially if you have something neurological like MS, like bladder stuff, it's just part of the deal sometimes. And so I kept running and I was prepared for something like this because it's happened before. So that's why I kept running because I was, all right, Justine, finish what you came here to do. And then after you finish, right away, you're going to go to your car. You brought a pair of pants and you brought single use wipes that are going to just be useful for cleaning up. And I knew that there was nothing I
Yeah,
could do during the race to fix that, as that was going to get to the finish and then I was going to take care of it. And have over the years worked this into my protocol for anything, being prepared, having a backup pair of clothing and having the wipes, because I'm really careful of trying to prevent any possibility of getting a UTI, which also is very common.
sure.
Yeah.
It's important to have a plan. I know we talked about it on our last pod, which was the
Mhm.
episode in the Azores, and I had a really bad UTI, and it wasn't treated properly there, and I kept pushing it here, and I actually went and I talked to my neurologist about it, and when we had an appointment, I mentioned things have not been the same since. I have to go more. Things just feel different. And it would have been really easy for him to say, well, it's an MS symptom and, you're part of this club. So welcome to the club. But no, it was, let's go have you see a urologist because we want to make sure it's not something else. Because newsflash, just because you have MS doesn't mean you can't develop
Yeah.
cancer. You can't get into a bike accident.
No.
It's not this ticket to
No,
ride.
unfortunately, it is not like, yeah, you got one, go to the back of the line.
Yeah, exactly. And so I went to a urologist, I think a week or two ago, and they were able to scan my bladder and made sure it was emptied properly and all of that stuff. I think it's super important. One thing being diagnosed with MS has taught me
Yeah.
is you have to advocate for yourself. You gotta just keep pushing, saying, "Are we sure?
Yeah.
Is there anyone I should be talking to? Can you refer me?" I know it's uncomfortable
Yeah,
sometimes, but
totally.
we have to do it.
So actually, that idea of planning, advocating for yourself is something we wanted to talk about today. And last week, when you were telling the story about the UTI, I have a story that I wanted to share. So basically, a while back, I was getting recurrent UTIs, which as an endurance athlete, that was not good at all. It was just really, it was eating into, I just didn't feel like training because just my it did not have a good bladder situation and fevers. It was really bad. And so what it got bad enough where I had the UTI and I had a bad fever. And so I went to the hospital. And at the hospital, they gave me an antibiotic shot. And then they put me on antibiotics and they put me in a room with a bunch of other people. They were treating me like I was kind of like a drug seeker, and they were really suspicious. It was because I had complained, I think because I complained about lower back pain, which by the way makes sense if you have a
Mhm.
kidney infection. But and I told them I have a UTI, but so they sent me home with antibiotics again. And then a day later I have 102-degree fever and it wouldn't go down and it was just bad. So I dragged myself back to the hospital, and again, they did not believe me that it was getting worse. And they were like, just give the antibiotics time. And I knew my body and something was tearing through me. Like it was getting worse. And so I had to advocate for myself at that point. I was like, can you try something else? And they ran more tests, and then they actually found out that the bug that was causing the infection, it was resistant to the antibiotic that they gave me.
Oh my gosh. So that whatever you were taking wasn't
I
doing
have
anything,
this
right?
infection was just ripping through my urinary tract and had gone into my kidneys, because at that point I had full-blown pyelonephritis, a kidney infection. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I was
horrible.
not pleased. So, yeah, just,
You
at that a reminder, you have to advocate for yourself and, like, don't just go home quietly. If you know something's not right and something's not working, just have to go and say, "No, I'm not leaving," even if it's uncomfortable.
You
Yeah.
really do. And even for me, when I got diagnosed, I've heard stories of people taking years to get diagnosed. And I was super fortunate that it only took several months. But even then, it probably could have been diagnosed within a week or
Oh
two
my
if they had just
god.
given me an MRI that
Yeah.
they kept refusing to do. So yeah, you really do have to advocate for yourself. And yeah, UTIs are common. It's an MS symptom. And The interesting thing, I think you throw out chronic conditions. I think UTIs might be more common in females. I had never had one, and then now I have MS, and I had one that like knocked me out
Wow.
literally unconscious. And so, yeah, it's super common, and it's one of those things that we deal with, but it's
Yeah.
so important.
Advocate for yourself and have a backup pair of pants and some wipes and clean up after you pee your pants. Yes. Then
Yeah,
again,
absolutely. And advocating for myself has really taught me that, I want to
yeah,
take on monitoring my health and keeping track of certain metrics and am I okay? Am I healthy? And so this is an interesting story. So since for the last couple of years, I've been getting DEXA scans, and I also did some. It was called a bod pod too, but a DEXA scan is a X-ray that takes a few minutes, and it scans your body, and it checks things like your bone density. It checks things like your lean mass percentage, your body fat percentage. I think some of them will even tell you like what your resting metabolic rate is. So all really good stuff. And for me anyway, when I first started exercising, what led me to the DEXA scans was really wanting to keep track of caloric intake. I was trying to lose weight. And so it was telling me this is how many calories you should eat if you want to maintain your weight. This is the deficit you should be in if you
yeah.
want to lose weight. And I've kind of gone around between a bod pod, which it's not the gold standard like a DEXA scan is. And so I had gotten a bod pod a couple weeks ago, and the guy who runs it, which we'll talk about on another episode, but it's in his living room, and it's this big apparatus that looks like an egg, and you sit in it with like swim cap on, and it does this like wild equation, the
That's so
air versus your
sci-fi.
weight and all that stuff, right? Right. It really is. So, if you all were listening last week, Justine's computer overheated, and sure enough, out of nowhere, she disappeared. I suspect it's because her computer overheated again. So, while we wait for her to come back, listen to this music.
David,
What's up,
can
bro?
you, bro? I had to get my computer a new ice pack.
Oh my God,
But,
that's great. It
yeah,
needs its cooling vest. Did
we
you get
lost
it?
connection. So I went and got it because it came, the screen went black and then it was like, it's not working, like troubleshoot. And I was like, I know what the trouble is. And
Yeah,
then I
yeah.
ran downstairs. I was like, God,
See, but you know
so
what? You got to be careful, Justine, because you don't want to fall and scrape your knee.
true. I
You're in
know. I
control
got to
of
be
that.
responsible.
You could have
Yeah.
walked. You could have walked.
I use the handrail. So
Good, good.
I grab the handrail. So,
So back to my DEXA scan. So
okay.
when I did the bod pod, he came back to me and he's, well, something that's a little concerning is you lost 3 pounds of lean mass. And for anyone with MS, losing lean mass is a no-no. You don't want to lose lean mass. It helps with balance, it helps with mobility, all that stuff. So I was just, whoa. But then I thought, well, the bod pod's in this guy's living room. It's not the gold standard DEXA. Let me run a DEXA. And I had done one last year, and sure enough, it came back and I lost 3 pounds of lean mass. So he was right. And it got me thinking, what's going on? I've been working out harder. I've been working out consistently.
Yeah.
Why am I losing lean mass? Well, you know what it is, Justine? Since January, when I hired a coach, I have been working my butt off. I've been doing a lot of rides and I have not been fueling properly. And
Oh,
I think what I was doing was I was still fueling like I used to fuel when I
yeah.
was trying to lose weight, which is I'm going to have a low carb, high protein bar before my ride,
Mhm.
where in reality, I should be having a high carb bar before my ride.
Mhm.
And I'm a noob. That's why I love having these
Oh.
conversations with you because I don't know what I don't know. And so I reached out to my neurologist first off
Mhm.
because he cycles, he rides gravel and I told him how I have a coach and I had reached out to him for nutrition guidance and was there anything at the clinic that might help me. And my neurologist as a cyclist is like, you're not going to get the type of information that's going to help you fuel to be an athlete. So I would lean on your coach. And so I reached out to my coach and he gave me some really good guidance on how to fuel. And let me just say, I had not been fueling properly, which
Uh,
explains why I lost all this lean mass. Like, for
yeah,
instance, today I rode 45 miles and
yeah,
every hour I was doing a high threshold 10-minute
yeah,
session. Before I even went on my ride, I had 100 to 125 grams of carbs just
yeah.
before even going on my ride. Whereas
Wow.
several weeks ago, I was maybe having half of that.
Oh my God.
And then while I was on my ride, I actually had timers set up on my
Yeah,
computer and I took 2 bottles of Tailwind and that equated to 100 grams of carbs. I took a Bobo bar. That was another almost 50 grams of carbs. And then I took like
yeah,
a pack of like the Cliff Block chews and that was another like 40 grams of carbs. And I was every 20 minutes, I was doing a rotation.
yeah.
And when I came back, I was out of fuel. And I'll just tell you, before, I was coming nowhere close
W-
to that. So you
Yeah,
don't know what you don't know. And I am quickly learning the importance of nutrition.
yeah,
And I was able to get away with it before because I was
yeah.
just writing and that was it. But now that I'm really structured in my writing,
Hmm.
I lost I probably lost those 3 pounds since I started training, and that was what? A little over 2 months ago?
Yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah.
so the DEXA scan was,
So having a timer on your watch or your bike computer, that is a game changer.
right?
Basically, I'm 40 grams of carbs on every half hour. It goes off and I'm taking an SIS gel or I'm making sure I've drank my entire bottle of Tailwind, which also has carbs and some
Yeah.
caffeine and stuff in it. And yeah, the timer is such a game changer for me because I was under fueling, but I wasn't limiting myself. I wasn't under fueling like because I was on being like restrictive or anything. I was under fueling because I just was losing track of things. I wasn't taking responsibility, David.
Yeah.
um, for feeding myself, you know? So I would run for a couple hours and be like, "I've had a gel, it's fine." And a gel, like a goo gel is 30 grams of carbs for 2 hours. That is not enough. Yeah.
And so now I've also started logging all my meals in this thing called Chronometer that's connected to my Whoop, and
Yeah.
when I was, in weeks past, I would have eaten half of what I fueled with.
Yeah.
And I fueled and then I came back and I ate a ton of carbs, a ton of protein, and I'm still like 1,000 calories away from reaching maintenance level, right? So it's just it's a game changer. And when we say we're not nutritionists, like I'm
No.
definitely not a nutritionist because I just lost 3 pounds of lean mass in 2 months. So just the importance of fueling your body. I think where before I was so worried about you got to be under these calories, and
Yeah.
that's because I wasn't training. I was exercising, but I wasn't training. And now, listen, my body's going to burn those calories regardless. I need to make sure it has the fuel and the gasoline to keep
Yeah.
going, and not tap into my muscles
Yeah.
to find
Right.
fuel because that's what it does when you under fuel. It's looking for that fuel and it's all right,
Yeah.
there's muscles here. I'm going to take it. And you don't want that.
Oh, how
All
many
right.
grams of carbs does he have you going for an hour? Like every hour?
So I think he has it broken down by if it's under 75 minutes in the
Yeah.
garage or if it's like today where I did
Yeah.
3 hours of work. But in the 2 hours before, he wants me at like 100 to 150 grams of carbs.
Yeah.
And then I think he had me at around like 75 per hour for like 3 hour ish rides.
Yeah.
But I just emailed him to make sure that was right. Because again, you got to advocate for yourself and be like,
Yeah.
coach, this is what I did today. I think I did a good job, but did I? And if I didn't, I want
Yeah.
to make sure I do on my next time.
Right.
And I can just tell you, so I packed, like I said, 2 bottles. I packed a Bobo and a
Yeah.
pack of Cliff Chews, and I even had some gummies too, on top of it, which it's all about fueling. And if there's anything about working really, really hard on the bike, is that you can have as many gummy bears pretty much as you
Yeah.
want, right?
Yeah. You know what I like pregame with and what I have for breakfast on big days, I always have a bagel. And that's lock that is like 40 grams of carb. It's like right
Yeah.
there as a good start to then keeping the fueling coming. But it's my favorite way. So bagel and then of course the birthday cake Oreos. We are
Fun
looking for
fact, Justine.
sponsors.
I don't know if you remember this, but that last summer when your leg was bleeding, the first time you met Karen and the kids,
Yeah.
me and you had an in-depth conversation about how you had polished off a box of Oreos the day before because you had been training.
I swear I'm an adult. I'm not 6-year-old. I'm bleeding. My leg is bleeding and I'm bragging about just binging Oreos. Like, yeah,
Right. So it's funny because I
yeah,
feel like our conversations go in a lot of different directions. So I think today we talked about
yeah.
racing, we talked about tattoos, we talked about peeing your pants. But if there's a theme too, and we always talk about a theme, I feel like is advocate for yourself,
Yeah,
trust your body. And doctors don't always do it because they're a bad doctor or they don't care. Is the human body super complex, and you know your body, I think, better than most, and I think maybe even better than doctors most of the time. So
yeah,
trust your body and listen to it and advocate for yourself because no one else lives there, right? It's your
right.
body.
Yeah. And speaking of like you living in your body, what do you want to know more about? What can we talk about that would be helpful to you? Advocate for yourself and let us know.
Yeah, like if you've had a story similar to one of ours,
Yeah.
maybe you've had to advocate for yourself. Heck, maybe you've peed your pants while on a ride or a run. We want to hear about it. We've been getting so many messages on
I
the
know.
gram, and please let us know if there's more topics you'd like us to cover. Because I think being able to share things that resonate with folks who understand, I think is
Mhm.
really, really cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And I know we
So,
have some cool upcoming episodes too. We have
yeah,
like some interviews coming up, right?
we do. Yes, with athletes who are participating in sports with their chronic conditions. So stay tuned. Those are coming up over the next couple episodes.
I love it. I love it. And I
Yeah.
know our community continues to grow. You know, you brought up a
Hmm.
term a few weeks ago that I've been totally reusing, and that's we are building our bro empire. We see you, Heidi. We see you, Heidi. And super just stoked to see this empire grow.
Too.
And as a reminder, we are not physicians. We are not nutritionists. Heck, if I was, I probably wouldn't have lost 3 pounds of lean mass.
I wouldn't have
So,
peed my pants.
as always, talk to your physician, talk to your nutritionist before you start a
Yes.
workout regimen or, running or cycling or any other sport. Please make sure that you talk to the professionals because we are not. And as always, follow us on the gram. Justine, you're at Run with MS.
Yeah.
I'm at the Foggy Cyclist, and we have the adaptive underscore limits Instagram handle as well. And I think we're starting to put these up on YouTube too, which is super cool,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so if you prefer, you can watch us talk about a bunch of random things that is very helpful and inspiring. Yes. I think I need to add the link to not the what is it? The
Oh, YouTube.
page. Yeah, we
YouTube.
need to add the link to the Adaptive Limits Instagram, so we will do that.
This was a reminder. I love it.
Yes.
Well, until next time, Justine, let's keep the bro empire growing.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.